Welcome to the Encounter Community Church live stream. We're so grateful that you are here, and we just wanted to take a moment to update you on some of the things that are happening at our church. We had originally planned to have our town hall meeting next Sunday, which is where we'll cover some of the business aspects of Encounter Community Church. Of course, we won't be able to do that live and in person, but what we will do is we'll be sending out links to maybe do that via video conferencing. If you're interested in being a part of that, please send an email to Pastor Ken at Ken Ballard Jr., the number 4 at gmail.com. Again, that's Ken Ballard Jr., the number 4 at gmail.com. Beginning March the 23rd, we'll be starting our 21-day sunrise to sunset fast. You have the freedom to choose whatever it is that you would like to fast from. Some people will choose food, other people may choose social media or television. And the idea behind that is that you're choosing to fast from whatever is a distraction between you and God. Again, that's 21 days, sun up to sundown, and hopefully everything works out. If so, then we will be breaking that fast on Easter Sunday, April 12th, when we have breakfast together. We originally had 2 community service opportunities. Unfortunately, those have been postponed due to the coronavirus. We will let you know about the new dates for those as soon as we get them. That way you can still volunteer to be a part of it. Hopefully we will get the all clear to resume all activities. If so, then on April 8th, we will have our monthly food bank from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. It's a great way to make a difference in helping to feed the hungry in our community. On April 10th at 6 p.m. will be our very first ever Good Friday worship service. It is a great opportunity for us to have a chance to be able to reflect on the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and what it means to our lives. And with that in mind, because we're doing the sun up to sundown fast, we'll probably break our fast together that evening and have snacks together, some kind of dinner together. Finally, for those of you that call Encounter Community Church home and you want to support us financially, there are 3 ways that you can do that. One is to mail your offering to Encounter Community Church, 18749 Crenshaw Boulevard, Torrance, California, 90504. Or you can also go to our website at encountercommunity.church, click the link that says online giving, you can give there. And finally, you can do it here via text to text 424-373-3583. If it's your first time, there may be a sign-up process you have to go through. That's just to make sure that you get tax credit. And then you can put the amount there and you can be able to give that way. Again, thank you so much for joining us for our Encounter Community Church live stream. I want to let you know this. I originally had planned on finishing up our series called The Art of Neighboring today. That was the goal that I had. But then, this week, seeing some of the things that are happening this week really got me thinking about some of the challenges that we're facing. And I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead with my heart. And I'm going to talk about some things that I think when it comes to the whole coronavirus pandemic, and that's what it feels like, right? A pandemic. That's what it feels like right now. Several words I've heard used this week are panic, anxiety, fear, mad dash for toilet paper. Those are some of the things that I've heard this week. And again, just our minds being blown at how quickly it seems like time is going by, with that. Just a challenge that we face with this. And how do we deal with what it is that we see this week? How do we overcome that? So what we're going to do is we're going to finish the art of neighboring next week. And this week, we're going to talk about something I think many people are wrestling with right now. And hopefully, with this, we can be an encouragement to those who have an opportunity to be able to be encouraged by this. And that's fear. How are you processing it? How are you dealing with your fear? How are you facing this because that's what this whole coronavirus thing has revealed. It's just reminded us that everybody's afraid. So, keep your 6 feet away from me because I don't know what you got, kind of thing. Everyone seems to be afraid when it comes to this coronavirus. And how do we know that everyone's afraid? Again, Go to the store. Look at look at the toilet paper aisle. Look at what people are buying. Look at the water. And I need someone to explain this to me. Maybe you guys could help me with this. Hand sanitizer, I get. I get why people would go crazy buying hand sanitizer. Totally makes sense to me. Gloves, latex gloves, I get. I see why people would get that because, and I'll be honest, I went to Redbox yesterday and got some movies for the family, and I did use latex gloves. Getting the Redbox movies out, and I did take them home, and I did I did disinfect them and clean them before I touched them. So, but the latex gloves, I get. Soup, I would get. Food, I would even get. But toilet paper? I don't get the madness for toilet paper. I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But with this in mind, all this does, it just shows us that people are afraid. So I found a story that's really great in the Bible. And one of the things that it talks about is just this challenge when it comes to fear. So just imagine that you're in this place, and what you have to do is you are stepping into the shoes of one of the greatest leaders of all time. Of all time. You're stepping into their shoes. So, and I'm talking about now, many of us will say Jesus. And yes, Jesus was absolutely one of the greatest leaders of all time, but this is different. I'm talking about a different guy in the Bible. But this guy had movies made about him. He's had cartoons made about him. He even has Sunday morning songs made about him. And all I have to do is say these words, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Let my people go. Yes, I'm talking about Moses. So now imagine that you are the person who has to follow Moses as a leader. You talk about overwhelming. You talk about scary. You talk about just all of the flood of emotions. And not only that, you are tasked to finish the job that Moses started. Because Moses was supposed to lead the people into the promised land. And he did. He got them to the cusp of the promised land, and then he passed away. But before he passed away, he gave the mantle to Joshua. And he said, Joshua, I want you to lead. You've been chosen by God to lead. Now, again, think about that. Here's Joshua, and you're following the guy who parted the Red Sea. You're following the guy who hit a rock with his staff, and water came from the rock. You're talking about a guy who prayed, and all of a sudden, these little flakes appeared on the ground that people could eat. You're talking about a guy who prayed, and quail ran through the camp for you to be able to eat. I mean, you're talking about miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle, and that's the guy that you follow. How would you feel? What would you wrestle with? What would be your mindset in taking the place of this guy? I know me. Again, I know me. I'd be overwhelmed. I'd be overwhelmed with me being able to take this guy's position. So before he starts, God talks to him. And here's what God says. It says, after the death of Moses, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. He said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I am giving them. Now, I love that part. Into the land that I am giving them. So literally, what God is saying is, I've already given them the land. Like this is going to happen. This is going to happen. So I love this, that when Joshua starts off, God already reminds him that he's starting from the perspective of victory. See, perspective is everything. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are freaking out, because that's what fear does. Is fear causes you to lose sight of your perspective. It causes you to lose sight of what matters. It causes you to lose sight of the commitments that you've made, the passion that you have. You know what it does? It also causes you to lose sight of your dreams. Fear can be devastating. And I think that's one of the things that we see happening in our society as well. But I love this. He says, I promise you what I promised Moses. I promise you what I promised Moses. You know what God is also saying? Is God is saying, Joshua, you are on the same plane as Moses. Like, you're equal. I'm going to spend time with you the same way that I spent time with him. I'm going to promise you the same way that I promised him. I'm going to be committed to you the same way that I was committed to him. And see, here's what fear does too, is fear not only causes us to lose sight of our perspective, fear also causes us to lose sight of our personal value. It causes us to lose sight of who we are and who God has made us to be. So I think that this is, again, why it's so important for us to begin to deal with our fear. Begin to face it, whatever fear it is that you're wrestling with, and begin to take the steps to see yourself overcome because of the commitment that you've made in your relationship with God to begin to invest in him. And we're going to talk about some key elements when it comes to being able to overcome fear in a second. But I love that. It goes on to say, wherever you set foot, you will be on the land I have given you. You hear the tense in that? I have given you. So wherever you step foot, you are already stepping on what it is that I have given you. How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? And so again, what we have to remember is this, because fear also does this. Fear causes us to forget about the fact that God is with us, no matter what it is that we're facing, no matter what it is that we're dealing with. And I know that there have been some Christians going out there and crazy buying toilet paper too. But we have to remember that God is with us. And share your TP. But I digress. It goes on to say, wherever you set foot, you will be on the land I've given you, from the Negev wilderness in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north, from the Euphrates River in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, including all the land of the Hittites. So we are talking, again, massive amounts of land that God has promised them. So again, it's not like God is saying, hey, I'm going to give you some swamp land in Florida. No, that's not what he said at all. I've given you incredible, bountiful land. So again, this is really important when it comes to fear. Because again, one of the things that fear does is fear causes us to lose sight of our dreams. And so what happens is we get so caught up in the circumstance that we see right in front of us. We get so caught up in whatever it is that we're wrestling with, that we're dealing with, whatever it is that we see, we get so caught up in that we lose sight of our dream. And so that really is a challenge, is can you make the commitment to hold on to your dream? It goes on to say, I love this, no one will be able to stand against you as long as you live. For I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. And again, I'm reading Joshua chapter 1, and I'm at verse 5 right now. I will not fail you or abandon you. I want to camp there for a second. Because when we see a passage like that, one of the things it's easy to forget is in the process of achieving what it is that God had called Joshua to achieve, there were pitfalls. There were failures. There is a group of people that the Israelites lost to in battle they shouldn't have. It would be like, the Patriots playing the Buccaneers. I know, I put my own team down, right? But the Patriots should not lose to the Buccaneers. I almost said Rams, but we beat the Rams this year. So that's a whole other thing. So Stan probably just signed off right now. But they still suffered defeat. They still suffered setbacks. So I want to make this really clear that just because God says, I will not fail you or abandon you, when you when you hit a snag on your path, it doesn't mean that God has failed you. That's part of the challenge, right? When you think about this, in order for there to be a resurrection, there had to be a crucifixion. Jesus went to the cross, he suffered and died in being able to get the ultimate victory, which is his resurrection. So that's the element to keep in mind as well. And again, it goes on in verse 6, and it says, "Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous." You know what that tells me? It's possible to be strong and not courageous. Or it's possible to be courageous and not strong. Like it has to be a balance of both. Like there are people who are strong, but when it comes to having the courage to really push forth to achieve the dreams that God's given us. And when I say strong, I'm talking about having the ability, having the motivation, having the skills, having whatever is necessary to accomplish whatever it is that God has called them to accomplish, having the strength to be able to do that. They have it. But the courage to step into, the courage to step out of, the courage to step into that, or step out of that comfort zone, the courage to step across, the courage to do those things that are necessary to see ourselves overcome. Sometimes people don't have that. Or we could do it the other way. We can have the courage, right? But not the strength. And usually here's what happens is not having the strength is usually a result of misplaced skill, misplaced ability. It would be like me trying out for American Idol. I don't have the skill. Right? It's just not going to happen. But that's what happens is sometimes people are courageous in areas that don't really match their strength. So I love that Jesus says, be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Because you're going to get it. You're going to get that land. And then it goes on, and in verse 7 it says, be strong and very courageous. So God even ups the ante and the level of courage he wants Joshua to have. Be strong and very courageous. And it's interesting to me that God keeps emphasizing this over and over and over again. Be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous. Because he really wants Joshua to get it. I think we struggle with that too. That sometimes we have to hear the same message from God over and over and over again until we get it. If you have children, you've experienced that, where you give the same message over and over and over and over again until they get it. And you continue to do that because you love your kids. You're not going to give up on them. And God will continue to do that because he loves us. He's not going to give up on us. And I love that he continues to say this over and over again. So I believe that Joshua struggled with identity. I believe that he struggled with fear because that's why God has to say it over and over again. Because he wanted to make sure that it got through to Joshua's head. But again, it says, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. That's key too. You know, another thing that fear causes us to do, it causes us to lose our mind. It causes our ever-loving mind. It does. And so when we are afraid, that's when sometimes we compromise morally. That's when we take shortcuts we know that we shouldn't take because we are afraid. So I love that what God does there is he says to Joshua, again, follow the instructions of God's word. Follow the instructions that Moses has given you. And by doing so, you will achieve success. It's amazing to me that one of the things, and you've seen it too, when people are afraid, one of the first things to go is human dignity. Right? It's human dignity. Again, why do I need 75 packs of toilet paper? And I guess I need to get off the toilet paper thing, don't I? But why? Why do I need to hoard that much? Again, one of the first things to go is human dignity. And it's really sad when you see fear take over because you see people adopt that mob mentality. And really, the focus becomes self-preservation. I need to take care of myself and watch out for myself. And it's sad when you see that happen. So let's make sure that in spite of our fear that we are saying, God, I'm going to hold on to what it is that you have to say and continue to pursue you in this relationship with you. But again, it goes on to say, study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. Meditate on it day and night. See, here's the other thing. Fear is driven by lies. That's the power of fear. Whenever we're afraid, there's some lie that drives that fear. And what it does is it skews our perspective. And again, sometimes for us, it skews our morality. So God wants us to make sure that we are digging into his word, spending time there. So the result of that will be that we'll be constantly reminded. See, the only way to defeat a lie that drives fear is to confront it with truth. Is to confront it with truth. And here's the thing, if you go to any counselor, they'll basically encourage you that. What a counselor will do is if they find out that it is a lie that is driving your fear, what they try to do is they try to pull you in back to reality, to see it from the right perspective, to see it from the proper perspective, so that way your life and everything can really begin to change as a result of it. So it makes sense. It makes sense. So if you really want to overcome your fear, make it a point to spend time in God's word and make sure that you try to expose whatever lie it is that you're believing and confronting it with truth. Confronting it with truth. And it goes on to say, this is my command. And here it is again. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged. And I love that. Do not be afraid. So do not be afraid. Do not allow your fear to drive you. Or discouraged. Discourage. Discourage. From courage. I love that. Don't let things steal or rob you of your courage. Continue to pursue what God has called you to pursue. And I love this. For the Lord is with you wherever you go. So what is the key to not being afraid and to not being discouraged? It's just to remember, he's with us. He is with us. So Joshua hears all this, and Joshua charges down to the Israelite people. And he's like, hey, it's on. Let's go. Let's go do what God has called us to do. Let's go make this happen. And so it's really great. So what happens is he goes through the camp. He begins to talk to the people. He begins to organize the Israelites. He has the soldiers go up in front. He also says some tribes to stay in the back with to stay back in the land with the women and with the children to make sure, and the livestock to make sure they're protected. And let's go. And as a result of this, like the people began to get charged up. And I love this. Here's what the people say to Joshua at the end. It says, they answered Joshua, we will do whatever you command us, and we will go wherever you send us. So imagine this. You're a leader. You're struggling with your confidence. And God speaks to you and says, be courageous, be strong, go for it. And then you stand up and you speak in front of the people whom you were probably afraid to speak in front of. Because again, I don't speak as good as Moses did. I'm not as strong as Moses was. I'm not a leader like Moses was. So I'm sure that he had to wrestle with, will the people follow me the way they followed Moses? And that's what the people say. We will obey you just as we obeyed Moses. And then it goes on to say, anyone who rebels against your orders and does not obey your words and everything you command will be put to death. Wow. I mean, now that shows that people are behind you and committed to you. I mean, how powerful is that? But then, here's the thing that's really interesting to me, is I don't know if the Israelite people were privy to the conversation that Joshua had with God. But here's what's beautiful. Here's how they wrap everything up. Here is the bow on the present. They say this: so be strong and courageous. That's what the people say. Be strong and courageous. So the people are encouraging Joshua with what God encouraged Joshua with as well. So here's what this reminds me of this too. If you want to overcome your fear, it's important to realize you can't do it alone. You cannot do it alone. You need people behind you. And I want to encourage, because sometimes what fear will do is fear causes us to separate ourselves and disconnect ourselves. And the problem that happens with that is once you have disconnected yourself, once you have separated yourself, once you have isolated yourself, then what that does now is it gives fear even more freedom to run rampant in your soul. So that's why you need people. You need someone that is around you that will be able to say to you, no, that's not the truth. Or you can do this. Or I'm with you. I got your back. I'm behind you in spirit. I'm with you. So again, just a reminder, here are some things if we're going to overcome fear in our lives. Is A, perspective is everything. B, remind yourself that God is with you and know that He is going to be there to support you and encourage you and love you. And then not only that, is to remember to make sure that you stay connected with God. Make sure you stay connected in His Word. Make sure you stay connected with His people, because that makes all the difference in the world. So I want to encourage you this week, as you are separated from people because of the coronavirus, I want to encourage you to begin to think about, who could I encourage? Who could I support? Who could I uplift? Look at your neighborhood. Are there people there that might need encouragement? Maybe you go to work while maintaining your 6 foot difference distance, you know. But maybe you go to work and you begin to look around. Who could you uplift? Who could you bring joy to? And you know what? In this time of fear, and that's what coronavirus has revealed, is we're afraid. And the truth is, once we overcome the coronavirus, there's going to be another virus. There's going to be another challenge. There's going to be another health scare. There is. It happens. You know, we had coronavirus now, we had the swine flu, mad cow disease. Ooh, you know, we could go on with all of the diseases. There's going to be another challenge that we will face. But the question is, how can we be able to be the voice of love and be the voice of encouragement? Let's pray. Father, again, I thank you so much for this opportunity just to be reminded of who you are. Father, I know that right now there are some Joshuas who are listening. There's someone who's struggling with fear of their circumstances, maybe fear of their career, maybe fear of food, of not having the resources that they need. Maybe they're facing a family challenge and is feared and afraid to deal with that. Lord, I just pray that today they will be reminded to just be strong and courageous. That God, you've promised that you will be with them wherever they go and will accomplish whatever it is that you've called and fashioned them to do. In all these things we ask in your name. Amen. Hey, thanks everyone for coming to hang out with me for a few minutes. And hopefully, again, be praying that this will all be settled soon and that we can get back to life as usual. And again, pray for opportunities for you to be able to be an encouragement to someone. Remember, encounter is about three things: love up, love out, love in. Love up. We're committed to being madly and passionately in love with God. Love out. Committed to reaching out and loving others, loving in, building incredible transformative relationships. And just imagine what that would look like in our personal life. Love up. I am personally madly in love with God. Love out. How am I loving other people more today than I did yesterday? And loving in. How are we taking care of ourselves? This is really important right now, too. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself, especially with this coronavirus scare thing. Take your emergency, drink your orange juice, maybe eat some soup, get some rest. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Love up, love out, love in. Well, take care. God bless you, and we'll see you guys next week.